In the season's heart, as we witness the rebirth and awakening of the earth, the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel warmly invites its viewers to partake in a profound and sacred observance. This May of 2024, join us in the Passover, an ancient observance that marks the deliverance of the followers of God from bondage, as chronicled in the book of Exodus. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. As we gather to remember the steadfast love and mighty hand of the Father, let us also renew our spirits and strengthen our bonds with the Creator and with one another. The Passover is not merely a remembrance of past deliverances, it is a celebration of our continuous journey towards spiritual freedom and enlightenment, guided by the Spirit of God. It is a time to reflect on our own lives, recognizing the leaven of malice and wickedness and embracing the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. If your heart is called to experience this time-honored observance, to delve deeper into the wisdom of the scriptures and the paths they illuminate for us today, we welcome you to express your interests. For inquiries or to signify your intention to join us this sacred season, please reach out to baptism@kjbu.org. Whether you seek understanding, fellowship, or a closer walk with the Creator, your questions and your journey are honored here. The House of the Lost Sheep of Israel awaits your presence in this Passover. Together, let us step forward into the light of understanding, guided by the Spirit of God, and renew our commitment to walk in His ways. Shalom.
Heavenly Father, and Creator of heaven and earth, Jehovah, we come before you this morning with our hearts open and our spirits attuned to the divine wisdom that we seek from you. And Father, as we embarked on this journey of understanding, this morning we learned another tribe of Dan. We ask, Father, that you guide us, O Lord. In your unerring light we seek the history of Dan to illuminate and the perils that's to be set before those who strayed from your path. I ask, Father, that you teach us. You teach us their story, their history, the importance of steadfastness in the faith, and dangers for deviation. We ask, Father, that we may discern the snares and traps of this world, those that lead to spiritual downfalls, and cling ever more closely to your commandments and your truth. We ask, O Jehovah, for the wisdom to navigate the complexities of even our existence with the integrity and uprightness, seeking righteousness, Father, always. So we ask that you help us to recognize, Father, the serpent, the guile, the ardor, the snake, the one that's of deceit, and any force that seeks to divert us from your holy ways. Instill in us, Father, the spirit of vigilance, that we may identify and avoid the pitfalls that led then into exclusion from the covenant. We ask in our daily lives, as we encounter the challenges of temptation, our mind, Father, we ask that you give us the strength that's found unity within you, that we may be like the wise, who built a house upon a rock, unshaken by the wind, in the storm of worldly allures. We ask that you bless us, Father. Bless us with the grace to bear one another's burdens, to walk in love and to have compassion, mirroring even your servant who walked this earth, the prophet, and he was your lamb, Yahushua, who bore the ultimate burden of salvation. We ask, Father, to let us remember in serving one another as we should serve you and uphold your law. We find our true freedom in salvation. So as we, Father, as we go through this lesson today and we have time to reflect even on times past, let us fortify our resolve and live in your light. Let us seek your face in all that we do and walk on that narrow path that leads us to eternal life. And may we never give or lose sight of the true inheritance that you have promised to those who love and obey you. So today, Father, we commit ourselves to this study. We commit our hearts. We commit our spirits into your hands, oh Lord. We ask, Father, that you guide us, correct us. We ask that you protect us as we seek to honor you in all ways. This we pray, oh Father, in the name of Jehovah. In Jehovah we pray. Amen. And shalom, everyone, shalom. I want to welcome everyone here to the house of the Lordship of Israel. And I want people to give me a minute. Something that's not turned on to where we can have people to hit some of our other live channels that we have. And it seemed that one of them was turned off and made people scurry around over here. But we need the numbers to show differently. So I need for you guys to give me just one moment, because we don't need anything for YouTube to start acting as they normally do. So if you guys just can bear with us for a moment to where we can get these directions right, to where we can get the numbers to where they need to go, and then where we can have our normal size. It'll work for me. But I do want to welcome everyone here as we do this. But what I want to make sure people understand is the Passover that's coming up. People sit there and say different things about Passover and how it's done. But from what this Passover is about, it's never been done over here. So this is going to be highly unique, and it's going to be new, mainly to over here in America, on how it was done in the times of old, in the time of the ancients. We're going to learn what the Passover is all about, and we're going to be going through it. So we have a lot of people that are signing up, and just making sure that if you plan on attending, to send your inquiries to baptism at kjbu.org, at kjbu.org, and you make sure it's baptism kjbu at kjbu.org, to where you can send your inquiries. We will also be having they still haven't gotten, 1 second, we need to make sure we get this down, because this is still going up. They need to get this to go down. Make sure we get this other one turned on. But what we need to do is make sure that we understand what's happening. But we will be going into Zoom afterwards. After this lesson today, we will be speaking on the Passover and also on the Bible. It's actually in print now. It's in print now, so we on the way. So everybody all the investors, again, I can't thank you enough for what all you guys have done to where we can move this Bible forward. But it is here. So it's ain't coming soon. It's coming, because it's on its way now. Now all we doing, we just going through particulars to where they stand in contact with me on certain things, and we going to find out a lot of things about this. But this process was long coming. But we at this point. We are actually at this point now. So I do want to thank everybody on that. Today we also have class. So class for biblical law is today. We will be going back through that today at 3 o'clock. So everybody who have that, you have the emails. One of the things that I do like to make sure of, if you're attending that class, you got to make sure you're going through the Psalms class, because over there is a prerequisite on what you can understand, on how you can actually understand the keywords. Mainly, that has a lot to do with what I'm doing, because once we start doing this and start doing the keywords for people to understand how to focus on certain pieces of the text, and if you is unaware of it, you will actually get lost, and that don't help us. Which brings us to this one. Brings us over here to the tribe of Dan. We've been journeying on the tribe of Dan and deeply understanding what was going on the prophecies that was going on. So we're going to go through quite a few different things that's happening on this here. And we're going to dive into this narrative about Dan. We got to take our time, because Dan was removed. Dan was removed from the records, and we need to find out why. So today you're going to find out many new things about how the Bible actually orchestrates itself, into where each and every one of us can spiritually understand this. But everything we're going to talk about, you're going to see it right there in the Bible yourself. So I want to make sure that each and every one of us have our paper, pens, to take notes, to clearly understand what's going to be going forth today. And this is something that it's not for you to go run around to try to show somebody else, oh, I know this and you don't know that. It's not for that. What it's for is for you, and for you only, to understand what happened, because what has happened can also be happening to you. You can be removed from the records. So we need to understand this for self. And you need to clearly understand self. Not to go running, oh, you guys going here, you guys going. No, you understand it's for you and you only. So we're going to dive into these narratives. We're going to be looking at the tribe of Dan. I'm going to be even showing you images to help us to understand more so, to where it becomes imperative to acknowledge the complexity of a journey that this tribe have navigated. From the inception of Jacob, from the pathetic declaration over Dan, what we're going to see in Genesis chapter 49, verse 17. I'm going to be going there in a second. And their eventual estrangement from Jehovah's covenant. So this exploration we're going to be looking at is a historical account and a deep dive into the souls of the Hebrew scriptures, viewed through the lens of myself, or Master Hebraist, specializes in Paleo-Hebrew, expert in the ancient cultural practices and traditions and language, trained at the feet of Dr. Shaul. So we're going to be going through this. And this, Dan, is really why we have to take this more stringent point, because they was removed from the covenant of God. Gives us a picture on what can happen to us. So we're going to begin here. We're going to start here, but we're going to start looking at a lot of different angles to where we can understand what happened. And just as I said, we're going to start right there, Genesis chapter 49, verse 17. And we're going to see some things here. We're going to start finding out as we do this. We're going to talk. We're going to have some conversations, because I need you to truly understand what's happening here. And it says this. It says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an alder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that the rider shall fall backwards. This is 100% parable, 100% parable, 100% a parabolic language. Jacob forecast this as we embark on this narrative. It's filled with complexities, these words seemingly hard to solve, but through the eyes of flesh, that's will always be. But through the eyes spiritually, we will actually be able to unfold it. The prophecy that's encapsulated in the essence of Dan's trajectory. So among the tribes of Israel, we see these utterance. This utterance of not just the mere words, but its profound legal, spiritual markers that defines Dan's legacy right there in front of you. And see, and most people are not going to take this too serious, but I'm going to show you that this is extremely serious. This journey of Jan that's chronicled in the scriptures is going to illustrate a lot of information in the that's framed within this comprehensive framework that we see here. We're going to see a comprehensive legal perspective that's underpinned in the commandments that was blessed by Israel himself. But you're going to see it's chronicled in Judges 18. You see it, I have it down here, but we're going to be going to that. But it's chronicled there. The spiritual decline marked by idolatry and deviation from the path of Jehovah. So our examination today is guided by the legal precepts enshrined within the sacred text, explaining Dan's spiritual journey against immutable standards set forth by Jehovah's covenant, enriched with long life dedication to understanding the depths of the Hebrew scriptures, aimed to eliminate in the suffice Dan's journey in its fullness. So it's chronicled. Of the promise of Perel's divine favor and the judicial consequences serves as a mirror reflecting the constant interplay between conventional obedience and their exclusion from the heavenly registry as depicted in Revelations. We're going to see that also. So this encapsulates a broader narrative, conventional, fidelity. Jehovah's justice is this where we look at this perpetual struggle between adherence, and we also have the other side that's refusing to continue to follow. So as we dive into this broader implication, we're going to look at the actions, scrutinize them through this immutable laws of Jehovah. Their stories accumulating their omission. From the list of tribes of Revelation, underscores the universal truth about the divine justice that befall those who turn away from God's law. And we see these things that happens here. We see these here. We want to understand, we have to always clearly understand being steadfast. We have to be steadfast always. We have people who will come in and be steadfast with doctrines. And people will listen, they can listen with happiness and understand what's happening. This underscores what's happening. But when you sit there, we have so many of us, and we can't even doubt it. Many of us like to sit there and hear with tickling ears. And we hear things and we'll sit there. We want to sit there, and it's of a serpent tongue. The ancient and honorable and the man that's speaking lies, he's right there in front of you. But you want to sit there because you like to be in the know. Then you have those, as we continually look, we be all about in the marketplaces, and everywhere we look, we sit there, we want to understand what's happening with the scriptures. We want to understand what's happening with the scriptures. But the biggest problem is this. We sit there. And we love to sit there and let that puppet master talk through that man. And we sit there and let our ears hear what we want, and we see right there what it is, and we're going to sit there no matter what we do, we're going to follow that serpent because we got our tickling ears. So many of us, that's why I say this is important today, many of us is marked. It's not going to make it. It's not going to make it whatsoever. We can want to all day, but we will not make it. Because we so engulfed into the world, thinking we doing this with God, and we're not. So we need to look at this. Take a bigger look at this and understand what's happening. This giving prophecy by Dan. This is describing the serpent by the road, altering the path, extensively foreshadowing the tribes, that four actions for this spiritual journey within this overall narrative of Israel. This overall narrative that we have to really pay attention to. That this declaration is not just about an individual prophecy, but it intertwines to a larger biblical theme that shed lights on this diverse role that Dan plays in this progressing story. So we need to understand this here. We need to understand one thing. One thing we need to understand is these words that we have here. It tells you, it says, Dan shall be a serpent. By the way, in order. So he's talking about two things. So we need to scrutinize what's going on here and understand what happened. So as we're going to do the analyze, we're going to analyze these things. We're going to see a spiritual examination about the tribe of Dan and the characterization in the biblical narrative and its importance to thoroughly analyze the statement that's represented, that you see in Genesis 49:17. So we can see the legal and moral condemnation that Dan future actions, and particularly the evidence we're going to see in Judges 18. So through the metaphorical representation of a serpent and an altar, creatures associated with confusion and deceit. The spiritual deviations from the scriptures. The gravity of Dan's transgression. So what we want to do is we want to really understand a serpent. A serpent. We should all get together and understand clearly what a serpent is. And when we look at the ancient practices, we're looking at the words in Paleo, this ancient creature. When you look at it in the cultural practice and the traditions, the language, the same it shows in Paleo-Hebrew. I would like to provide you with this in-depth analysis of the symbolism associated with a serpent. That's traditionally a serpent can be revered as a symbol. You never forget this. Don't you ever forget this. He always going to be revered as a symbol to the world of wisdom, intelligence, and cunning in virtuous cultures. Most people say, no, that can't be true. Oh, yeah. In Scriphes, he's a Greek mythology. I want to show you some things on this. I want to show you some things on this guy. And you're going to see this here, and you'll see here. Asclepius, that's him. And you'll see he's holding a rod. This rod is depicted as a staff, but a single serpent coiled around, and he holds great significant symbol. You can also see it here. And you see the rod of Asclepius. You see it there, and you see the other one. But you'll see it has to do a lot with medical. And you'll see these signs. You'll see, if you grew up around here, you'll see those. You see them. Very strong. It is strong in the Chinese culture, as with Hindus and everything else you'll see. But you see Asclepius everywhere. He's tied to medicines. He's always tied to that. But then when you get into Hinduism, you'll see where they can be dancing on snakes. They'll dance at the head of snakes. Chinese culture at its finest. This shows you again, it's telling about wisdom, intelligence, and cunning in various cultures. So they use the snake. However, when we're looking at biblical framework, the biblical framework we have to look at, the serpent takes on a predominantly negative connotation, stated as with Jehovah. Stated as with Jehovah, it tells you. See, when you look at that and want to personally understand it, and I want to get into it because we're going to see some things where we're going to go to Genesis chapter 3. We're going to look at 1 through 5. You're going to see where this woman predominantly start talking to this serpent. Reasoning back and forth with him. She wasn't up there by herself and had other people out there as she's speaking with the serpent. So we need to really pay attention to what happened. Let's go over here and let's look at something. And we're going to go over here to Genesis chapter 3. We're going to look at verse 1. We're going to go from 1 to verse 5. And I want to make sure we understand this again. Within the biblical framework of a serpent, predominantly negative. And it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God, the Spirit of God, it tells you that capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, that Spirit of God had made, and said to the woman, yea, have God said ye shall not eat of every tree in the garden? Think about that. I want you to think about that. So you can see this is what they're doing right here. This is what's happening. You see right here. Have not God said, ye should not eat of every tree that's in the garden? It's reasoning with her. Look at it. He's reasoning with her, and we'll get sucked into this. And he said, don't even talk to it, but you see what she's doing. She's talking to the serpent. Having a conversation with the serpent. Reasoning with the serpent. So it went on. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat mean we may learn of the work, the fruit of the trees of the elders of the garden. You see them there. You see them there. We may learn of them there. Interesting, ain't it? See, it's getting really interesting. However, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, so the work of the elders which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not learn of it. You shall not eat of it. Interesting. Neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. I'm telling you, we a trip. We are a trip. Interesting. To understand what we're doing. Because the serpent replied and said unto the woman, ye should not surely die. You ain't gonna die. Who told you that? That's not a true statement. See, he could even say that, you talking to me, you ain't dead. But he wanted to add some understanding to that. He said, for God do knoweth the day you eat, you learn thereof, you learn of it thereof, then your eyes, your understanding shall be opened, and ye should be as gods. You're going to be these looked at idols. You're going to be as gods, knowing good and evil. This how quick we get sucked into things. Because one of the biggest problems is we always looking to be in some type of control. We want to have some type of power. We were sitting there creating, and then the first thing we want to do, we want to elevate to the top, right to the top of the totem pole, and knowing nothing. We want to be the top person. Soon as we got in, we want to be the top persons there. Can't get around it. That's the same thing when I first started doing the YouTube. We had a guy down in Florida. Sat there and told some of the other elders, say, hey, we can do this thing ourselves. Milk dripping all behind his ears. Still sucking on the breast of his mother. Had one out here doing the same identical thing. 2 of them. This is why I say it's so real. It's so real. Because they thought their eyes was open. And they wanted to be gods. When the woman saw that, the elder, I'm telling you, you see what she's doing. You can see what she's doing. When she saw that this elder was good for food, she saw that this elder was good for food. And it's a snake. It's showing you it's a snake, but she thinks she's looking at a man. It's showing you it's a snake, But she truly thinks she's talking to a man and talking to a straight snake. Reasoning with you. Look at his tongue. His tongue is split, giving her two different doctrines. The stupidest thing we do, we sit there and look in the Bible and say, oh, it's talking about a serpent. You got preachers who sit there, yes, serpents and all these snakes, they talked back then. Really, that's really interesting. He's telling you those are people. She thought that elder was good for food. So she did what? She took of that. She took of that work that he was talking about. She took of that. She seen it was pleasant to her eyes, so to her understanding, and that elder was to be desired to make one wise. So she took of it. She took of that work and did learn of it, and gave also to her husband, and he did learn of it. This is our problem. This confusion, it serves as a warning, leading individuals away from Jehovah's truth into the depths of deception. The serpent, once revered as this various cultures as a symbol, we've seen this symbol of medicine. You want to be healed? Go to the one that has the pole wrapped around him. They heal you. And it's a serpent wrapped around it. I know many of us have seen this. Many of us have seen that symbol. It's rampant. It's rampant. We done seen this symbol. They used to have Rex drugs. It's rampant. It is rampant out there. You can see these things. And when they get there like that, they try to sit there and see what's happening. They try to understand what is going on. In one second, you guys, let me turn these comments off because I see people still want to. So give me 1 second because I see people they ask them not to, but they still do. So if y'all give me 1 second, and we're going to take care. We're going to handle this. Because this, again, makes no sense. And, so give me 1 second. And we're going to take care of this. And we are satisfied. It is satisfied now. So now we can make it better on our moderators. So the same as what we're saying here. As we look at these things, we try to understand them. When you see these things happening, then we can see that this story goes on. We can see the story happens. This serpent, once revered in all these cultures, we've seen the symbols. But it's a negative thing within the biblical context that's associated with this cunning, confusing betrayal that highlights the role of mankind, the fall from grace. The fall from grace. But they want to tell you about a new culture, a new practice, a new tradition, a new language. That's why when they had us here, they removed those things. They removed your culture, your practice, your traditions, your language. They moved all that. The same with the altar. The altar is deception in a false prophecy. In a false prophecy. He's a unique individual. He's a unique individual. He's all about false prophecy. It's there. As we look at him, we get a better understanding about what he's doing. But he's all about false prophecy. That's what he's going to do. He's going to give all these false things. He's going to tell you everything about what's happening. let's take a closer look. Let's take a closer look at this and see what he is about. Because it's going to tell us right there in Isaiah, we're going to look at Isaiah chapter 27, but we're going to take a closer look at verse 21. We're going to take a very close look at verse 21. A close look. Because we have to analyze the tribe of Dan in the ancient Israel. That's intriguing. Let's note their deception as an altar in the path which serves and emphasizes the inclination towards deception and prophecy. So this comparison draws a parallel between their actions and their behavior of this creature that was renowned, but he was stealth, had a deadly bite to him. So the scriptures and traditions, it portrays this altar. Known as a viper, symbols conceal the dangers of its treacherous intentions, similarly to a leviathan that is spoken about in the scriptures. We'll see it over here in Isaiah chapter 27, looking at verse 1. It tells us here. It tells us exactly what he is. In that day, the Lord, the Spirit of God, which his sword and great strong sword shall punish Leviathan. This Leviathan. The piercing serpent. Even Leviathan, that crooked serpent. And he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea, that is in amongst the people. That's why I kept showing you that. He's amongst the people, and people want to hear it. People want to hear what he has to say. People pay very close attention. More people will listen to a serpent than they hear truth. People would listen to a serpent faster than they'll listen to truth. Let me show you something. We're gonna look at something. We're gonna go over here to Job. Same thing. We want to look at Job, and we're gonna take a closer look at Job. And as we get to Job, we're gonna see the same identical thing in Job chapter 41. Same thing. And it tells you the same thing. It says, Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord, which letteth down? So he want to get him out on his tongue, because different things are traditions and practices. Can you get him out on that? Not Leviathan. Leviathan's not stupid. Leviathan wants you to follow his traditions. Leviathan wants you to follow his cultural practices. Leviathan wants you to follow his unity. So can you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord, which thou lettest down? You truly think you can? Do you truly think you can draw him out? The characterization of Dan as an altar aligns with these attributes of Leviathan, similar in the profound impact of deceit, rebellion against the expectations of God's covenant. It's right there, because it's telling you that Dan's character and actions in Judges, in understanding the cultural practices, the traditions, the language, and then they're going to assume these things on what they believe is true. So the tribe of Dan historical action meticulously documented in the book of Judges. We're going to be saying we're going to use the book of Judges as a case study. We're going to use it as a case study to serve as profound illustration of this prophetic implication pertaining to their designation as a serpent and an altar. So the tribe of Dan engaging in this covert surveillance, they did. Subsequently conquering Lush. You're going to see how wrong that was. To demonstrate the worrisome deviation from the divine sanction, their deeds that are deeply rooted in the realms of idolatry, you write that one down, embodying the very essence of the serpentine deception of moral deviation. that they have been adamantly warned against by the nation of Israel. So it's critical for us to emphasize these events, not only to serve as a valid or pathetic imagery, but associated with the tribe designation, but it's to shed light on profound legal and spiritual ramifications that accompany such actions within the covenant community of Israel. That's what it's for. So we are able to unveil the intricacies of the layers concealed within the text. Because Dan's action stands as a stark reminder for the entire covenant, for the entire community of Israel. It's there. It's important to understand the divine thing to where we see the guidance and the desired consequences of straying from the path. We should see this clear. We have to look at the legal and historical implications. So from a lawful perspective and consider that. We need to make sure we clearly get that. In Deuteronomy chapter 27, looking at verse 15, it's penned there and it's going to show us. Cursed be the man that maketh any grieving or molten image. Any grieving or molten image. Any grieving or molten image. Now, here's the problem. You know how many people got grieving images on their body? You know how many people have grieving images on their body? I want you to think about that. Tattoos are within that grieving image. Thinking it's cool. Thinking it's part of the world and you're cool with it. That's a grieving image. People say, what about you, Elder Johnson? I don't have none. Hidden or unhidden. A grieving image, he told you, plain. And this is why we go in Bible, we go in churches and buildings and where we shouldn't be, and they'll say it's okay. And it's telling you, maketh any grieving or molten image cursed. Cursed be the man that do this. An abomination unto the Lord, to the Spirit of God. That's an abomination. The reason why I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what's being said here. Think about it. Well, I'm going to go get this tattoo. I'm going to go get this. Or you go get this cross. Or you go get this head and say it's the head of Jesus. Really? That's interesting. That's an abomination to the Lord. You have it, that's an abomination. You want to keep it, that's an abomination. This for older folks and especially for all the younger folks. You can go get a tattoo. But you got to remember one thing. You was told the truth. You were told the truth. And it's telling you, don't make any grieving or molten image. It is abomination to the Lord. The work of the hands of the craftsman, you, and putteth it in secret place, and all the people shall answer and say, amen. You all got to agree with this, or he can't move further. Or he can't move any further. Let's look at some more of this. Let's pull some more law documentation here. We have to pull more law documentation just to make sure we clearly get this. You find this here, and these are reprimands, but most people don't know it that. We're going to look at 3 through 5, and it says, thou shalt have no other gods. So you can't have no other idol before me. Don't have no other idols before him, period. Don't you put no idol before him. And if you put a grieving image on your body, You put that before him. You put it on top of him. Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything. That's even in letters. Don't put no letter. Well, I just wrote love on. I just have love on my body. Anything. Well, I just put a dot on there. Any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. Anything. A dot. A tittle. Don't you put that on your body. Don't you make it. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, the Spirit of thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity. That's why you don't want no visitation. You don't need no, I don't need, Lord say, Mike, I'm getting ready to come. No, Lord, is the world ending? Well, I can't tell you. But if the world ain't, Lord, I can, when you in, either let me die normal or whatever the plan is there. I don't know. But, Lord, I don't need you to come. I don't need the visitation right now. If you just coming just to be coming, no, I don't need you. I'm good. Visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Because when you're doing it, he's saying you hate him. You can sit there and you sooner, okay, I want y'all to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something real quick. One second. Yeah. I mean, I want to sit there. I'm finna put up a question. How many of you guys have tattoos? Just that's a question. That's a question why we doing this. See, because what we want to understand is one thing. We want to understand something. And see, and the best thing is to be honest. See, you can't hide it. Because some people are going to say, well, can't nobody see it because where I have it positioned. It doesn't matter. He sees it. So I'm not saying it for me that I might see it. I'm talking about if you have a tattoo and he knows it, you might well just put, yeah, can't nobody know who you are. Don't nobody know who you are, but do you have one? And the same thing is, do you have any crosses? So if you have a cross around you or a cross in your drawer, you got a cross somewhere that you're keeping, then you just put yes. If you got a cross of anything, you got a cross of earrings, you got a cross of a necklace, you just put yes that you kept. So let's just keep this honest. So even if you don't know, but if you own a cross, if you own the doves or the symbols of they talking about, you go to yes. You put yourself yes. That's what you do. Because this is how serious it is. We want to understand what's happening. We want to understand why we're going through what we're going through. And I see right now, a lot of people not being honest. Because I'm looking at the polls. Oh, I guarantee you they're not being honest. Because we want honesty. Because just like I said, people will get tattoos the way you can't see them. But God can. Some people kept their crosses. Some people keep their fish. Some people keep all their little stuff. And that's it. So if you did it, just put it to yes. That's the point. That's the point of this. On what we looking at. On what we trying to do. Because he's saying he's going to visit iniquity upon the fathers, upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Of them that hate me. This is what we want to clearly get. We want to understand. You see the polls. 73% of the people say they don't have tattoos. Stuff like that. That's interesting. Visual shows different. Visual shows different. Some people say, well, I didn't get no more tattoos after I came to the truth. That don't count. See, you putting your own excuses in there. See, the historical trajectory about the tribe of Dan, these characteristics describes the serpentine in the nature, and the prophetic declaration serves as a solemn reminder and consequences for them that deviate from the divine law and the dangers of spiritual rebellion. Have to use that little bit of legal stuff for you. Because a lot of us don't want to actually adhere to what truth is. So the role of Dan's spiritual narrative, that's right here, and we're looking at the historical account, a glimpse into fulfillment of the prophetic words, the utterance of Dan, should be both a servant, and he's also going to be an altar in the path. This designation foretelling the path in this cunning potential deviation from the principles that's exemplified in the Danites, pursued to the inheritance through deception. They wanted their inheritance through deception. The subsequent establishment of idol worship. Let's look at some of this. And look at this. And we're going to look at Judges chapter 18. We're going to look at verse 1. We want to look at these Danites. We want to start understanding this, getting a better understanding. Make sure, again, we will have our pencils and papers ready, because a lot of us here are Danites. A lot of people don't even know that. We're Danites. You are of Israel, but not Israel. So we have to look at this. In those days, there was no king in Israel. And in those days, the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For unto that day, all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribe of Israel. See, when we want to look at something, we want to really, everybody look, I don't see what the point we need to really focus on. You need to focus on right there. I'm giving you a hint. Let me put that there, just so you can understand where I'm coming from. We'll understand where the Bible coming from. It says, for unto that day, all had not fallen to them. It was coming, but they trying to force it. You guys following me now? It was coming, but they wanted to force it. So let's look at this. Let's look at it, because I'm telling you, it's not pretty. It's not a pretty thing. Actually, I should put it over here to where we can go down. And then I'll put the other one over there. Let's do it that way. We're going to go to Judges chapter 18 and verse 1. So we see this here. So now we're going to look at verse 2. So let's look at this. And it says, and the children of Dan sent their family 5 men from their coast, men of valor from Zohar and from Eshcol. That's interesting. They're going to send these guys. They're sending these guys. I want to give you a vivid image to where we can see, just get a very good image on what they did. They sent these guys there to get this, to camp out of Zohar from Eshcol, to spy out the land. To spy out the land and to search it. And they said unto them, go search the land. Who, when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there. That's interesting. When they came there, they lodged there. That's highly interesting. As these men sit there and they looking, they searching, they looking. Then when they get to Micah's house, they lodge there. That's where they were going to hang out. They're going to hang out right there at Micah's house. They get there, they want to sit there, and they want to chit-chat. Interesting. They want to chit-chat. So this quest begins with this preliminary survey It was a preliminary survey to gain information about the land. It was a preliminary survey to check out the land. And as they checking out the land, these men of valor, these are hornets, because that's all Zohar is, some hornets. And it's called, see, and then when they went to the skull, asking for an oracle about their inheritance. Because that's what they want. They want their inheritance. If you don't give it to me, Lord, I'm going to take it. The residents, the echoes. And Micah, the same you see right here, they came to that house. Who is like Jehovah? On the word. This pivotal figure, this narrative, represents the intersection and the divine inquiry of human ambition from these guys. Human ambition from these guys. So as we look at these guys here, we get a better understanding. We look at these guys, now we know we got a better understanding how they coming. See, they want to come real humble. They want to come cool. But between the Danites and Micah and these Levite priests, we're going to get into the scripture. We're going to find out something to underscore what was really going on. We have to find out what was happening. We have to know the details. Because the details is in the pudding. Let's look at it. Verse 3. Let's look at verse 3. And we see here, it says, when they were by the house of Micah, they knew the voice of the young man. Yeah, you see him talking to him. And they turned in thither and said unto him, we brought thee hither. Who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place? And what hast thou here? Why y'all? I don't even know why y'all here. I know y'all from the tribe of Dan, but why y'all? What's up? Why y'all over here? What's going on? Y'all just here to hang out? If you want to hang out, hang out. We all brothers. If you want to hang out, hang out. Let's look at verse 4, because we're gonna get started getting interested, and then we're gonna tear into all this. And he said unto them, thus and thus dealeth Micah with me, and have hired me, and I am his priest. Well, yeah, let's see in a minute. And they said unto him, ask counsel, I pray thee, of God, that we may know whether our way which we go shall be prosperous. This is highly interesting, because this underscores where these Danites inquiring about God's on this concerning this venture. However, this divinely guided inquiry that they do in contrast to their later reactions, this diverge significantly from the path of righteousness. This is what we're going to look. So what we want to do is understand a couple of things. We want to understand a couple of things. And this is why the problem. I want to show you something. We're going to look at this here. And you see what's going on. They left their coast, and we want this here, Zohar. I want to turn that one. So I want you to keep Zohar. I'm going to tell you what it is. In Zohar, it's talking about lions, but old lions. Old lions. That's what Zohar, that's what this means. From old lions. They lions, but they old lions. Or they acting like old lions. That's what that says. So these Danites find these people unsuspecting. They there carelessly. Let's put in some of this. Get some understanding here. I'm gonna go down to verse 7, because we're gonna understand why I'm showing you this over here. We want to understand that. And it says, then the 5 men departed, and they came to Lush. You see that there? They came to Lush. And they saw the people were there, and they dwelt careless. They were there careless. They just hanging out, just careless. People carefree. Don't care, carefree. Just kicking it, carefree. Don't care, carefree. After a manner of the Zidonians, exactly the point. So we're going to find out what's happening. Quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate. So it was no king. It was nobody running the place. They come into a city, and nobody's running the place. No magistrate in the land. That might put them 5 guys, these same 5 guys, ain't nobody gonna put them to shame. So as they come down into this city, they up amongst the people, ain't nobody there to put them to shame. So they can come into this city, nobody there to put them to shame. Ain't no magistrate there, ain't no king there, so there's no law there. So people just dwelling there. People just hanging out, being free. That's the point. That's why he came to Lush. But we're gonna unfold some more. We're gonna unfold a little bit more. But I just want you to see a vivid illustration on what I'm talking about. So when you see this depiction, we look at verse 7, and you see it was no magistrate in the land to put them to shame in anything. Can't nobody put them to shame on anything. You see, let me go to anything. They were far from the Zidonians and had no business with any man. They just hanging out, dwelling in the city, twinkling their toes. I want you to keep that lush in mind, these old lions. I'm telling you. See, because when they came down there, this depiction of lust not only illustrates the vulnerability, but it also foreshadows the impending betrayal by the Danites, similar to the serpent's strike. So this journey in lust identifies symbolically of a place where old lions dwell. These children of Dan encountered a community existing in a state of unsuspecting tranquility. They come in there just whistling Dixie, chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time, with their head in the air. Careless of the ease of this on it. So these narrative of these people of lust, these careless, because they don't have no magistrate there. In this vulnerability, and then we looking at the vulnerability of the inhabitants there. The inhabitants. It says saw the people that were therein, the people. But we're gonna know who these people is. Because these people, there's some people there. Echoes the deeper parallel picture of the tribe. Because this telling you. Lush is telling you. Lush is telling you who they are. Let me bring it a little bit closer for you. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 49. We're going to start at verse 9. As it tells us, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son had gone up and has stooped down and crouched like as a lion, as an old lion. That's who was there. These boys. These boys was there. And Judah was likened as a lion, but they should have been sovereign. They should have been keeping the situation going, because after they resting after this conquest, yet in the midst of their power and calling this same thing, as it tells you, it says, and the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, to who right it is. So as they was dwelling there, was the reason the Most High had them dwelling there, because they were supposed to keep it until who right it was to come there to get this land. And it wasn't them. It wasn't the Danites. Now you see the picture. But we got some more to do. We got some more work to put in. So as they sitting there, and they didn't give them to the right land, the Danites coming in to put in work. Why? They scoping out the land. Now all they got to do is make plans. They making plans now. on what they're going to do to take the land. Now they done took over everything. They're going to sit there, okay, we got to do this and we need to do that. We need to make a plan over this. We need to make a plan on that. But what if they do this? I seen one dude look like he might be tripping, but hey, but I tell you what, we can work this out and we can do this and we can take over that. Then there won't be no problem. Then they won't have no issues. But this the only one we got to watch out for. These the only ones we got to do. But once we do them, they can't do nothing. But we got to make this plan. We got to make this pact. Because Judah is likened to the lion. He's a sovereign beast resting on his conquest in the midst of their power. And it's not going to depart from them. But they're supposed to keep it until Shiloh comes, who right it is to hold dominion. And then they were going to make sure it was given to them. But they didn't do that. That's something they didn't do. So this intertwining prophecy and actions unveil the complexity of this taboo inheritance, of this destiny where Dan, in seeking as they place and veer towards the path that's forewarned by Jacob. They were forewarned of this. So this tribe's comfort maneuvers the lush and setting up idols to reflect not just the quest of the land, but the deviation from the ordained path of Shiloh, or who right it is, because they're going to take the land. So this rightful inheritance as decreed by Jehovah in the act of Dan embodied the serpent by the way. Keep that in mind, because that's what it's doing. So they cunning, unexpected challenges in the path that is fulfilling this divine. So the absence was given to the inheritance of Dan, contrasting the prophetic assurance to Judah. Underscores the critical divergence from the journey in the tribe of Israel. Dan's approach to lust was they come up on a whole bunch of old lions. They living carelessly in the land. They carelessly in the land, so they made plans for that. They have adopted the ways of living carelessly like old lions, and whose lineage was destined to hold the scepter until Shiloh comes. To who right it was comes, that what they were supposed to do. And they didn't do it. So this narrative of this composition that shows you right here, it's right there clear. The scepter should not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between feet until Shiloh, to who right it is. They're supposed to hold ground right there. That's why they dwell in there. They can't even understand their own prophecy. So this serpent-like strategy in the adoption of idolatry strayed from this path of Shiloh. So this land ungiven to Dan, the tribe with subsequent action serves as a stark reminder in this profound implication, straying from the divine decree, enduring the call that aligns with Jehovah's sovereign will, because it was Dan's decision. It was their decision to prompt and report, to spy out the land, to do what they did. Let's look at it. We go down to it. Verse 8. It tells us in Judges chapter 18, verse 8, it says, and they came into their brethren to Zohar in the skull, and their brethren said unto them, what say ye? And they said, arise, that we go up against them. For we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And are ye still, be not slothful to go, and to enter and possess the land. Go in there and take the land. When ye go, come unto the people, secure the large land, for God hath given into your hands. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't give him anything. A place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. Yeah. But they're going to go take the land. This is the problem. Now we see Now we see where the big issue is. See, this reveals the deliberate move towards securing land by force. Underscores this tribe's departure from seeking the divine sanction of their actions. So this moment of choice reflects the complexity of Dan's dynasty and their destiny. So it's like inheriting what's not rightfully yours. This is what it's not rightfully that, but they saying they inheriting it because they taking it. Name it, claim it. I know y'all heard that term if you're in the church. It's like writing your name in sand beside the sea. It's temporary. Because once the water come in and it subsides, it's erased. Temporary, fleeing. Dan's name was erased from the book of life, for straying from the divine decree, which many of our faith be altered also. Because we like to take things that's not ours. We like to, somebody's death, we think we can capitalize on it. In that inheritance, whatever was left was not even yours. And you took it. Because you felt you had a right to it, and you didn't. See, you shouldn't be allured by earthly inheritance that leads us astray in seeking what belongs to somebody else. Because you not only lose risks of your place of eternal leisure, having your name written in the book of life, you have a risk of where your name will be written in the book of the lake of fire. Many of us is having that name written right now. Trying to navigate between Jehovah's fidelity and human ambitions. This is sickness. A sickness within Israel. And capturing the setting and then setting up your own grieving images. Let's drop down some and look at this. In verse 17, it tells you this. In Judges chapter 18, verse 17, it tells us. It says, and the 5 men that went in to spy out the land went up and came thither and took the grieving image that had ephod and the tefillin in the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate, and 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. Let's get some information here. We're gonna drop down to verse 30 and 31. 30, 31. And you'll see here the shadiness that we do. It says the children of Dan set up the grieving image. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. Exactly what's happening. And it tells you in verse 31. And they set up Micah's grieving image. Because, he the one made it. He made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. Was who right it was. So many of us are going to bust hell wide open. Deservedly so. See, this act of establishing idol worship, particularly during the time of the house of God stood in Shiloh, signifies a profound spiritual apostasy. Apostasy, the deviation from the covenant with Jehovah. This breach marks as an erection of this Micah's idol, signifying not just the moment of the practice of a belief in God, but it's a divergent and foundational wrath in the tribe's relationship with Jehovah. Actually, I had it up there. I want to go back over here again because I had it over there. Let's get back to Deuteronomy 27:15 because I need that there. I tell you, cursed be the man that maketh any grieving molten image an abomination unto the Lord. You see, it's clearly right here. And this is why we have this issue when we're looking at that and paying attention to it. It starkly condemns such idolatry, all this idolatry. Because most people don't even know money is idolatry. Oh, I gotta have this money. I gotta go get. You done took an inheritance. That's something that's not yours. property. You done took something that's not yours, as with other things. Emphasizing the legal and spiritual ramification of a conventional transgression that you have done with God. So the tribe of Dan's historical journey, from seeking their inheritance and establishing their own idolatry, crystallizes the prophetic warning issued by Jacob, offering the compelling study in the interplay between the divine destiny and human agency. This is what we do. Reflecting of Dan's actions on the spiritual implication becomes clear on this fulfillment of Jacob's prophecy. Not just a mere abstract and prediction, but it's a tangible now manifestation of the choices and action that was made of the Danites. And we see it. We're seeing it right here in Judges 18, illuminated in the prophetic insight. Even when we look at Micah, we can go over here. Look at this in Micah chapter 7. See something more here. Micah 7. And looking at verse 17, it tells you exactly what's going on. It says, they shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of the Lord our God, the Spirit of our God, and shall fear because of thee. We engage through these exploration and actions, the spiritual trajectory that we look at the tribe of Dan. So when we look at this analysis rooted in the inherent and the meanings, implications of biblical texts, such as unraveling the spiritual words in this lesson, warned that conveyed with this here, see, it completely kills theological explorations. It kills that. Because most people still going to try to hold on to some type of theological type exploration. But same as it said, the tribe of Dan quest and their inheritance accumulating to capture lush, old lines this account with this perceiver through the lens that this multifaceted spiritual dynamic. Dan's approach was marked by stealth and eventually idolatry. The serpent's way navigated the path towards establishing a new dwelling in action that was already showed in the law. It was already told not to do. It was already told to us not to do set up. But what do? Ye should have no other gods before me. We set them up. We want to do it our way. We set these up. Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Spirit of thy God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity upon the fathers and upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate. So you're doing it, you hate God. You're doing it, you hate God. So as a reflection of this spiritual thing, which can always come to a defeat, reduces the serpents. This embodiment of defeat of humanity serves as a pungent parallel to the spiritual descent of the tribe of Dan. So this imagery is directed to the scriptures, which reflection of these consequences, serving as the stark reminder as we deviate from Jehovah's commandments. We can see these. Actually, I'll show you. Actually, I need to run this other one. We're going to look at something else in in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 5. And we're going to look at 8. We're going to run 8 and 9. 5, 8, and 9. It's telling you again, you see we can't get around it. It says, thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to it. We just read this in Exodus. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor thou shalt serve them. For I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquities upon the fathers and the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Clear. But see, we so hard-headed. And that's why I say so many of us deserve to go to hell. Because no matter what, no matter how much this is pound, no matter what, they're going to find a way to try to get around it and you should deservingly go to hell. Leviticus chapter 25, 26, then we're going to look at verse 1. Ye shall make no idols, nor graven image. He even changed it so we can even understand it. Neither rear you up a standing image. Don't even put up a standing image. Neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land or bow down unto it. I am the Lord your God. A lot of y'all hold up to that Martin King they got down there in Washington. I talk about how great this man was, and he was an idiot who talked to our people like they was a fool. And they sat there and set up all kinds of images, and you have a whole lot of our people doing this man like he was some great man. He was the biggest whore that ran around. One, and he said, out of a mountain of despair, out come a stone of hope, telling you God hath forsaken you, and now he's the stone of hope. And we will sit there and say that's one of the greatest speeches ever written. And he literally denounced your God. And people will say how good this. Go read it. It's right on the side. It's on the side of his stone. I should have had it the way I could show it to you if I would have thought about it, if I was going to bring this up. He said, out of a mountain of despair, telling you, God forsaking you. He's saying this out his own mouth. He said, out come a stone of hope, him. And not paying attention, despair. He's telling you, this mountain who God used as a symbol in his own Bible, he said he forsaken you. But from him, I'm here. And people sit there and say Martin King is a great man. He was the biggest fool that ever walked the face of this earth. I'm telling you, it's sickening to where how quick we can fall to silliness. How quick we can fall to silliness. Dan's journey even chronicled here. Encapsulate this choice. Despite the presence of this, what's going on, whose right it is. It embodies deviation from the covenant, the decisions that's viewed through the lens that we just see right here. So when we look at this, divine justice happened on Dan, as with many of us, this is happening. When we look at this in Revelation chapter 7, we're going to look at this real close because you're going to see something that's real profound here. It says, to the tribe of Judah was still 12,000. Yeah. The tribe of to Reuben, still 12,000. Every generation, 12,000 from each tribe is sealed. 144,000 out of the 12 tribes. 12,000 from each tribe will be sealed. Meaning, if you, let's take for example, if you are from the tribe of Manasseh, only 12,000 in your generation will show up in those records. Meaning, and it's millions of us here. Let me make sure you don't have a problem with this, because he tells you this all day. He tells you this all day. After he says it, he says, "Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity upon the father, iniquity of the father upon the children, third and fourth generation of them that hate me." But look at this here. And showing mercy to thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. He's not saying millions. He's not even saying billions. He's saying thousands. 144,000 to be exact. Per generation. Because that's why you keep doing, that's why you keep saying third and fourth generation, 10th generation. You see, he keep talking about these generations. Per generation. So if you sitting there and you think you playing a game with him, okay, you think again. You see this. The Nephilim, 12,000. Manasseh, 12,000. Simeon, 12,000. Levi, 12,000. Zebulun, 12,000. Joseph, 12,000. Benjamin, 12,000. We can go down the list. You go up, it's telling you 144,000 out of all the tribes of Israel. Every generation he's pulling out 144,000. So a lot of y'all not going to make it. Based on playing these games, this encapsulate this encroachment. The tribe of Judah residing, they was linked there. They was there, and they was there to watch something, and they didn't even do their job there. It's telling us right there, because we've seen it right there in the scriptures. In Genesis chapter 49, looking at verse 9 again, it says, Judah's lion will. From the prairie, my son has gone up and has stooped down and has crouched as a lion, as an old lion. Who shall rise him up? Who's going to rise him up? Dan came in there and took it. Took it. Why? Because they was dwelling there and they didn't keep it for who right it was. They was there to protect it. Dan displayed this strategic, this cunning, this prowess sight with these old lions, bunch of young whips. He tell you, you lion whip, you the young boys over there. And you acting like a little old lion. Displaying what was going on. This is testament on what happens. And they wasn't supposed to do anything until Shiloh come to who right it was, to who land that was going to be given to. And they couldn't even do that. They get down there and lush and they didn't do nothing. So this foresees the tales of the faith. Judah made it easily visible that it was absent, laid back. Like a lot of us here. A lot of us brothers here just lazy. Sit there, brother, sitting there, want to make everything off the woman. Lazy. Sitting there doing everything lazy. And we supposed to be protected. Lazy. They need to castrate every lazy male out here in America. Castrate them so they can't reproduce. It's a disgrace that we're stooped that low. And the whole bottom line still is, soon as they sit there, let me go back there again. Judges 18, 7. It tells you. The 5 men departed and came to Lush, and they saw that the people were there, how that they dwelt careless after the manner of the Zidonians. No magistrate was in the land. So they came in. This is wide open, bro. This is wide open. We can do what we want to do. Their success, their conquest on that was not just territorial acquisition, but it was a stark manifestation of their boldness to overpower a tribe destined to perpetual rule. You got fools here who sit there, well, people, we in America, we're the tribe of Judah. No, you're not. You don't know who the hell you are. But I know one thing, you ain't Judah. You acting like them old lions because you're dumb and stupid. Dumb and complete stupid. You got all these camps running around. You got people run by droves into these camps. Your IUICs, your GOCCs, your IOGs, your Sakari. If you over at Sakari, I know you just butt stupid. This is what goes on. You want to talk to you seeing what they did right here. But stupid. This is, I'm talking about, and then you got all these guys want to sit there and have women pregnant, everything else, and just lazy, careless. Dwelling in land, doing nothing. Boy, I just don't know. I just don't know. We sit there and can't take care of our own. and we get overpowered. This act of territory act is someone in power over property, and then they take it by force. So when we sit there, this is the deviation from Jehovah's path. It heralds earthquakes or vibrations. So this shift to this tribal dynamics of Israel, challenging the prophetic degree of Judah's scepter that never departs. It's interesting. So when we're looking at this fabric, we're looking at this history pertaining to this narrative filled with the truth that Jehovah's knowledge, this episode underscores the critical lessons that he provides to us, the consequences from neglecting the divine ordained rule and the responsibility. Because when they was there to rule, when they was there to make sure everything was secure until who right it was to come, they there dwelling there like old lions. The same as the moon and the sun have his ordinance. It come. Do the sun come up every day? Do the moon show itself every day? Yeah. We had our rule. It says should not depart from Judah until Shiloh come, to who right it was to have that land, and they sitting there like old lions. Dumb, stupid old lions. These implications of Dan, this here, it's a disgrace. And we know that this exhibits the monetary triumph, that the victories that's embodied in the shadows of a spiritual fight. Actually, let me show you this. It's a spiritual fight that always goes on. In Galatians chapter 5, looking at verse 17, it's going to show us that it says the flesh lusts against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so that they cannot do the things that ye would. The flesh wanted the land. The spirit that was set there was supposed to watch the land. But they didn't do it. Why? Because we sitting there, oh, well, we can do it. Well, we just kick it. We can kick it here. Really? That's interesting. Let me show you a spirit that you got in you. The ones who all like that. All the ones that's like that even to this day. In that day, 7 women should take hold of one man, saying, we eat our own bread, wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. You got a whole lot of these lazy, no good men. These lazy, no good men that can't take care of the people, can't take care of their children, can't do these things. That's who they are. But they want to be called Israel. But the thing is, when it comes down to, they're going to keep coming up in their mind, won't tell you what, I can't get no job because they're against black people. I can't get no job because they don't like me, and I can't get this job because of this black people. They don't like black people. I can't. Are you serious? So you'll lurk around lazy, careless, and do these things. Carelessly. You'll do it. And won't think nothing about it. And every time somebody tries to check you on it, the first thing you do, you have an excuse. The same as they say, well, black people got to be twice as smart and work twice as hard. In the legal records of dance, not only shows that Dan, for each of us, many of us are so compelled to contemplate the intricate dance and the dynasty that's the power, self-will of Dan. The self-will of Dan on what he did. Dan, all they did, they spied out the land. Spied out the land, and they seen they can take over some people. They knew they can take it over. This was in their heart. They met up with Micah. He had an idol sitting up in the house. They took that idol, set it up. They made their plans to do what they did. And then the first thing we want to do is talk about Dan. When you need each and every one of us, when we come out of here, we need to look at ourselves. We need to pay attention to, are we Dan? Are we Dan? This is a spiritual transgression on many of us. Not merely a critical oversight, but a profound indication of Jehovah's justice, reflective from a tribe. Choices and consequences that happen. When we make the choice not to put in work, we making the choice to be rightfully removed from the book of life. You keep that in mind. If you're not putting in the work, don't think that you're going into the kingdom. Faith without works is dead as a doorknob. This happens. And seeing the same thing is, we have a lot of people who sit there, I don't know what this man talking about, because he's been saying Jehovah quite a bit. I want to prove the point. I'm going to prove the point. See, because same thing is, we got Christians running over here all the time. But I want to show you, as he said in Exodus chapter 6, verse 3, he says, I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah I was not known to them. But watch this. In verse 7, I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God. Who? Jehovah. So when you run around there saying this man, Jesus, Jehovah don't mean Jesus. Jehovah do not mean Jesus at all. Jesus tell you out of his own mouth, there is none good but one, that is God. So we better understand what's going on here. So you remember this day, because as I said, this is for you. This ain't for you, oh, it's such and such, they need to go no, this is for you. And what you come out of here with is for you. Same thing. These tribes were sealed. 12,000. You make sure you make your cut. Because if you don't make the cut, I promise you, he had no problem cutting you. That is no problem for him. So hopefully that each and every one understood why Dan got removed. They clearly got removed because they went and took something that did not belong to them. They seen the opportunity and they took advantage of it. This is the problem. Many of us do those things. We'll sit there and we take something that do not belong to us and think nothing about it. So hopefully you take Dan why they got removed. Now you know why they got removed. It ain't, they were sitting up idle. They were sitting, no, hell no. They went and planned and took something that did not belong to them. We always going they were sitting up idle. No, they took some land that did not belong to them. Judah, with their lazy butts, did not do nothing. They sitting there dwelling in some land and being old lions and let these dudes take it. So you let this be a reminder that each and every one of you guys don't do the work. When you're assigned to do something, you need to follow it, because God is not playing with you. You see, that's why Dan got removed and Judah got checked. So hopefully you guys remember that. What's done for you is for you. And what we're going to do, we're going to go into Zoom. And we're going to go in Zoom, we're going to answer questions, but mainly, one of the main parts is what we want to do. We want to go over the Passover. We're going to talk about the Passover. And then on top of that, we're going to we might touch on the book. We probably touch on the book, but the book is in print. And but our main goal is just to make sure we go over this here with the Passover. So we're going to be setting that up. And then what I want to do, also, you should see the link is being put in by Sister Venus right now. I want to also put this other part in there to where we can make sure that each and every person can assist in what I'm going to do. I'm putting in you can also see the link is also in the description that you'll see down below. So with that, and then tomorrow, I need you guys to make sure tomorrow we'll be back over at Deacon Smith's channel. We'll be over there to where he'll be bringing forth a teaching from Deacon Smith. We should he been busy for a minute, but he's back in the saddle. He's putting in work, so we're gonna enjoy from him tomorrow. So I say for right now we got class this evening at 3 o'clock Pacific time, and then tomorrow we have Deacon Smith, and then hopefully you guys have had a chance to enjoy some of what we've been doing, because what I did the main one, if you can remember, that we now running live radio. So you might have seen that there, you might see that over there, but we have this is Lost Sheep Radio. So if you get a chance, when we run it live, we running it live for at least 5, 6, 7 hours to where we run it live. And basically what it is, I had quite a few people always ask me to they want to share my playlist on what I do. So what I do, I did that here so you can check it out and go through it here. So if you look at it, it'd be over here, and then if not, it's set on the podcast. Which it's supposed to allow you to where you can just have it you can set it and it just runs. So you should be able to do that, because I set it to podcast to where it can just run, and then you don't have to. You actually could turn your phone. Yeah, I know you leave the phone. I know when it's on YouTube, it's your image is still showing, which I know that makes you burn more battery. But this, you're supposed to be able to turn it off, turn that part off, and it's supposed to be able to continually move forward. So that's why it's set to podcast. So that's why we did that. But hopefully, until then, and until this afternoon, but if you have any questions, you want to speak with us, and you want to meet with us, we're more than open to where you can click on the links to go into the Zoom right now, to where we can sit there and we can ask any questions, and we will give you the floor, and I will give you answers to any that you have. The same as any of the other elders that they taught on. You have questions for them, we'll leave it open to where you can actually speak to the elders or the deacons to ask your questions to where we can bring them forth. So I say until next time, to each and every person that is here, until we meet again, I say to you, Shalom.
You don't know how much you mean to me, baby. I can't put it in words. You don't know how much you give to me, baby. You keep making me learn, yeah. I can't live without you. Talk, baby. My ears crave the sound. Yeah. You're like a painting hanging on my hand. Maybe you save me, give me all and a little more. Yeah. I can't live without you. I can't live without you. I could hold you tight for the rest of my life. I would grip my arms so tight around you, girl.